She had walked past him every morning for 6 months without learning his name. The billionaire CEO with the glass office and the silent authority. The single dad with a tired jacket and a daughter waiting at home. Then one night, the city went dark, and the only person left standing beside her was the man she had spent months ignoring. Before we continue, take a moment to gently like this video if quiet stories like this matter to you. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I truly read them. And if you enjoy slow, human stories about dignity and second chances, subscribe and stay with us. Now, let's go back to the beginning. The first time Evelyn Hart noticed him, she didn't really see him. He was standing near the security desk of her building, holding a paper cup of coffee that had already gone cold. He wore a jacket that had seen too many winters and not enough rest. His hair was neatly combed, but his eyes carried the kind of tired that sleep didn't fix. Evelyn walked past him without breaking stride. She always did. As CEO of Hartwell Industries, she had trained herself to filter the world. Faces blurred into background noise. Voices became interruptions. People existed in categories: investors, executives, assistants. Everyone else faded out. The man by the security desk was part of that blur. His name was Lucas Reed. He worked in building maintenance, mostly nights. During the day, he took contracts where he could find them. He fixed leaks, replaced broken locks, cleaned offices after people like Evelyn left behind coffee rings and half-written plans for lives they controlled. Lucas noticed Evelyn long before she noticed him, not because she was famous or wealthy or powerful, but because she looked alone. Every morning at 7:15, she entered the building with the same posture: straight spine, chin slightly raised, eyes forward. She never carried coffee, never checked her phone, never acknowledged anyone unless they spoke first, and even then, only briefly. Lucas had learned the rhythms of the building. He knew which executives argued with their assistants, which floors stayed lit long after midnight, which people smiled when no one was watching. Evelyn never smiled. Lucas didn't judge her for that. He didn't judge anyone anymore. 3 years earlier, his wife had left with nothing but a suitcase and a sentence she never finished. He was left with a quiet apartment and a 4-year-old daughter named Mia, who asked too many questions and believed her father could fix anything. Lucas learned quickly that life didn't care about fairness. Bills arrived on time, grief did not leave on schedule, and dignity was something you protected quietly or lost loudly. He took the night shift because it paid slightly more and allowed him to walk Mia to school every morning. He waited by the security desk afterward, sipping coffee that tasted like cardboard until his next job started. That was where Evelyn passed him every day. For months, they existed in parallel lines that never crossed. Evelyn's days were measured in board meetings and numbers that shifted markets. Lucas's were measured in hours slept and whether Mia had eaten enough dinner. They shared the same building, the same elevators, the same air. They lived in different worlds. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. Evelyn was late, not rushed, just delayed in the way powerful people could afford to be. She stopped near the security desk to answer a call, her voice low but firm. "No, that timeline doesn't work. Fix it." Lucas stood a few feet away, pretending to read a notice on the wall. He wasn't listening, but he heard something in her voice that felt familiar. Control stretched thin, pressure disguised as calm. When she ended the call, their eyes met by accident. It lasted maybe half a second. Evelyn nodded, polite, automatic.
Lucas nodded back. That was it. But something unsettled her as she walked away. Not discomfort, not guilt, recognition. She dismissed it before reaching the elevator. Weeks passed. Winter deepened. The building grew quieter. Deals closed, others failed. Evelyn navigated them all with the same composed efficiency. At night, she returned to an apartment that echoed when she set her keys down. Lucas returned to his smaller place where Mia waited with stories about school and drawings taped to the fridge. One evening, the elevator stalled between floors. Evelyn was alone inside, or so she thought. The lights flickered, the hum stopped, silence settled. She pressed the emergency button. Nothing. Minutes passed, then more. Her phone had no signal. For the first time in a long time, Evelyn felt something close to panic. Not fear of danger, but fear of being unseen. Outside, Lucas heard the alert. He was finishing a repair on the 3rd floor when the building shuddered. He moved without thinking, grabbing his toolkit and heading toward the elevator shaft. He called out, "Anyone in there?" Evelyn froze when she heard a voice. "Yes," she said. Her voice betrayed nothing. Lucas recognized her immediately. Not because she was famous, because he had seen loneliness before. "I'm Lucas, maintenance. I've got this." She didn't answer right away. No one had ever said that to her without asking something in return. "I'll wait," she said finally. The repair took longer than expected. They talked through the door. Not about work, not about money, about small things. Weather, the building, silence. When the doors finally opened, Evelyn stepped out and looked at him properly for the first time. Not the jacket, not the tools, the man. Their eyes held for a second longer than necessary. "Thank you," she said. Lucas nodded. "Anytime." She walked away, but something had shifted. That night, the city went dark, and everything they had ignored began to matter.
Lucas noticed the first change on a Tuesday evening, just after the building emptied out. The elevators stopped ringing. The lights dimmed to their nighttime setting. The hum of the city pressed closer to the glass. He was mopping near the executive floor when he saw Evelyn Hart standing alone by the windows, her phone dark in her hand. She usually left brings of daylight with her. Tonight she hadn't. She didn't look at him, she rarely did, but she didn't leave either. Lucas finished his work quietly. He replaced the mop, washed his hands, and checked his watch. He had to be home soon. Lily would be waiting with her homework spread across the table, pretending she wasn't watching the door. He turned toward the stairwell. "Excuse me." The voice stopped him. Calm, controlled, used to being obeyed. He turned. Evelyn stood a few feet away now, her posture unchanged, but her eyes on him for the first time, really on him. "Yes, ma'am," he said. She seemed to register the word and then dismiss it. "Do you work nights often?" "Most nights," Lucas said. "Maintenance." She nodded once, as if confirming something she already knew. "The lights on the 12th floor flicker after midnight. It's distracting." "I'll check it, tonight." "Thank you." A pause. "What's your name?" The question landed heavier than it should have. "Lucas," he said. "Lucas Reed." She repeated it softly, testing the sound. "Evelyn." He already knew, everyone did, but he didn't say it. She watched him for another second, then turned back to the windows. Conversation over, dismissed. Lucas went home thinking about the way she'd said his name, like it was an unfamiliar object she'd picked up by accident. That night, Lily asked why he was late. He said, "Work." He kissed her hair. "Just work."
The flickering lights were fixed before midnight. The next morning, Evelyn walked past him at 7:15 like always, straight spine, eyes forward. But this time, as she passed, she said, "Good morning, Lucas," without slowing. It shouldn't have mattered. It did. Over the next few weeks, small things shifted. She asked questions, not personal ones, practical ones. How long he'd worked there, whether the heat on the upper floors ever failed, if he preferred nights or days. He answered briefly, carefully. He had learned long ago not to offer more than was asked. People noticed. Assistants began to glance at him differently. Executives paused when they saw him near her office. He heard whispers he wasn't meant to hear. He talks to her. He's always around. Who is he? Lucas kept his head down. He did his job. He left when his shift ended. He went home to Lily and helped with spelling words and burned grilled cheese more often than he admitted. Evelyn noticed the restraint. It unsettled her. She was used to people wanting things, favors, access, recognition. Lucas wanted nothing. When she spoke, he listened. When she didn't, he disappeared back into the building like part of its bones. One night, the power went out. Not the whole city, just the building. Emergency lights kicked in. Phones lit up. Panic traveled fast in places built on control. Evelyn was in the elevator when it stopped between floors, alone, trapped. She didn't scream. She didn't pound the doors. She pressed the emergency button and waited. 5 minutes passed, 10. Then she heard footsteps and a voice through the metal. "Miss Hart? It's Lucas." Her breath loosened without her permission. "I'm here," she said. "I know," he replied. "I've got you." He talked her through it. Calm instructions, updates on progress, no false reassurance, just truth. It took 40 minutes. When the doors finally opened, she stepped out carefully, her heels shaking slightly on the floor. "Thank you," she said, quieter than usual. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, then stopped herself. "No, but I will be." He waited, didn't fill the silence. "Do you have kids?" she asked suddenly. "Yes," he said, "a daughter." "How old?" 8. She absorbed that. "I don't." "I know," he said, then realized it might sound presumptuous. "Sorry." "It's fine," she said. "People usually make assumptions about me. It's refreshing when they don't." She surprised herself by saying, "Would you like to have coffee sometime?" The words felt unfamiliar in her mouth, not a command, not a transaction. Lucas hesitated. He thought of Lily, of schedules, of lines he didn't cross. "Just coffee," she added, "in the lobby, public." He nodded. "Okay." The first coffee was quiet, awkward, two people sitting with paper cups and too much space between them. She asked about Lily. He answered. He asked about her work. She summarized, then stopped, as if she realized she didn't know how to explain her life without hiding behind titles. They kept meeting, always brief, always careful. Then one morning, Evelyn saw Lily. Lucas had brought her in early because the sitter canceled. Lily sat at a side table, coloring quietly, her backpack at her feet. She looked up when Evelyn approached. "That's my dad," Lily said, matter-of-factly. "He fixes things." Evelyn smiled, not the practiced one, a real one. It startled her. "Yes," she said, "I've noticed." Lucas watched them, something tight in his chest. This was the part where things usually went wrong, where judgment entered quietly. Evelyn crouched to Lily's level. "What are you drawing?" "A building," Lily said, "with lights that don't flicker." Evelyn laughed once, surprised by the sound. "I'm glad he takes care of you," she said to Lucas later. "She's steady." "She had to be," Lucas said. "It's just us." That night, Evelyn lay awake in her apartment, overlooking the city she owned in pieces. She thought of the way Lily trusted the world because her father had made it safe. She thought of the months she had walked past him without seeing him. And for the first time in years, Evelyn Hart wondered what it might cost her to keep ignoring something real.
The night everything changed did not begin with fireworks or shouting. It began with a quiet mistake. Marcus was late. Not late in the dramatic sense, but late enough to feel it in his bones. The kind of late that comes from a bus that never arrived and a phone battery that died halfway through checking the time. He stood outside the glass tower on Grant Avenue, breathing in the cold, watching the reflection of his own face blur against the building's lights. He almost turned around. Inside, the fundraiser was already moving. Soft music, low laughter, crystal glasses touching without sound. Elena Royce stood near the back of the room, half hidden by a tall arrangement of white orchids. She was listening to a board member talk about numbers she already knew. Her attention drifted to the doors. She did not expect to see Marcus. She had not invited him. They had exchanged messages for months, sparse, careful, mostly about the community center, sometimes about his daughter, almost never about her. She had told herself that keeping distance was professional, necessary, safer. Then he walked in. Not dressed for this room, a clean jacket but worn at the cuffs, hair slightly out of place. He paused just inside the entrance, scanning the crowd, unsure if he belonged. Elena felt something tighten in her chest. A few heads turned. Someone whispered. Marcus felt it immediately, the shift, the subtle recalculation people made when they decided you were out of place. He had felt it before, at school meetings, at restaurants with white tablecloths. He kept his shoulders relaxed and walked forward anyway. He was looking for Elena. She saw her before he saw him. She was still, listening, distant, in a dark blue dress that caught the light like water. For a moment he forgot where he was. He forgot the room. He forgot the noise. He only saw the way her hands were folded, like she was holding herself together. Then someone stepped into his path. A man in a tailored suit, older, confident. The kind of confidence that came from knowing you owned the room, or at least believed you did. "I'm sorry," the man said, polite but firm. "This event is private." Marcus nodded. "I know. I'm here to see Miss Royce." The man smiled without warmth. "Do you have an invitation?" Marcus hesitated, just long enough. The man glanced past him, already dismissing him. "You'll need to leave." A few people nearby were watching now, not openly, carefully, the way people observe without wanting to be seen doing it. Marcus felt the heat climb his neck. He could explain. He could say her name louder. He could push. Instead, he took a step back. "I'll go," he said quietly. Elena turned then. She saw the exchange, the way Marcus's shoulders shifted, the way the man blocked him without touching him. Something sharp moved through her chest. "Marcus," she said. The room did not go silent, but it thinned. Attention narrowed. The man turned, surprised. "That's fine," Elena said, stepping forward. Her voice was calm, controlled. "He's with me." The man flushed. "I didn't realize." "It's all right," she said. "You can go." She did not look at him again. Marcus stood there, unsure what to do with his hands. People were watching now, not hiding it. Elena closed the distance between them. "You didn't tell me you were coming," she said. "I didn't think I should. I just wanted to drop something off." He handed her an envelope. She took it, eyes narrowing slightly. "What is this?" "From the parents at the center. They heard about tonight,
They wanted you to know where the money actually goes. Elena looked at the envelope. Thick, heavy. "Marcus," she said softly, "this isn't the place." "I know," he said. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." A pause, a long one. She looked around the room, the donors, the board, the people who believed they understood generosity because they signed checks. Then she looked back at him. "Come with me," she said. She led him past the crowd, through a side corridor, into a quiet room with floor-to-ceiling windows. The city stretched below them, sharp and distant. She closed the door. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "I'm sorry," she said finally, "about that." "It's fine," he replied. "I'm used to it." The words landed harder than he intended. Elena exhaled slowly. "You shouldn't be." She opened the envelope. Inside were handwritten notes, drawings, a list of expenses written in careful ink. Rent, food, supplies, counseling hours. She read without speaking. "These are from your daughter, too, the drawing." She held the paper longer than the others. "I didn't come for this," he added. "I just thought you should see them." "I'm glad you did," she said. Another pause. "You don't belong in that room," she said quietly. "Not the way they think." Marcus smiled faintly. "Neither do you." She looked at him, surprised. He shrugged. "You just hide it better." Elena laughed once, short, honest. Then it faded. "You were ignored tonight by people who claim to care." He nodded. "It happens." "It shouldn't," she said. She handed the envelope back to him. "Stay," she said, "for a bit." "I don't think that's a good idea." "Please," she said, not as a command, as a request. He hesitated, then nodded. They stood by the window, not touching, close enough to feel the space between them. Below, the city moved on, unaware that something small but irreversible had just shifted.
Elena did not sleep that night. The fundraiser ended without incident, at least on the surface. Applause, thank you speeches, smiles that looked practiced. Marcus left quietly, the same way he had entered, without drawing attention. But something stayed behind with her. Something she could not fold away with the programs and the empty glasses. The next morning, she canceled her first meeting. By noon, she had canceled 3 more. Her assistant noticed but did not ask. People rarely asked Elena Royce questions that did not involve numbers or outcomes. She spent the afternoon reading the letters again, slowly. This time, she read the spaces between the words, the parts where people hesitated, the places where dignity pressed against need. One letter stood out, written in uneven pencil strokes, a child's handwriting. "Thank you for the food. My dad says thank you too. He works a lot. I like when he reads to me, even when he is tired." Elena closed the folder. She thought about the way Marcus had stood in that room, silent, steady, refusing to shrink even when the room tried to make him. She thought about how easily she had ignored him before, not intentionally, but effectively. For months she had passed him by, in meetings, in emails, in conversations where she told herself she was too busy to notice what did not demand her attention. She dressed without thinking, pulled her coat on and left the building. The community center was louder than she expected. Children's voices bounced off the walls, chairs scraped the floor. Someone laughed too hard in the hallway. The place smelled like cleaning solution and something fried. Marcus was at the front desk, talking to a woman holding a clipboard. He looked up and froze. "Elena," he said, not surprised, just careful. "I hope this is all right. I didn't call." "That's fine," he replied. "You're welcome." She nodded, unsure where to stand. The woman with the clipboard smiled politely and walked away. "You came," he said. "Yes." They stood there, surrounded by movement. "Do you want a tour?" he asked. She nodded again. He walked her through the rooms, The tutoring space, the small kitchen, the storage closet that doubled as an office. He spoke plainly, no dramatics, no appeals, just facts. Elena listened. She noticed how people greeted him, how children leaned toward him without asking, how he bent to speak to them at eye level. "You don't talk about this much," she said. "There's not much to say. It's work." She stopped walking, turned to him. "This is more than work." He shrugged. "It's necessary." They reached the back room, quieter, a table with crayons scattered across it, a small bookshelf, a couch with a tear in the arm. "My daughter sits here, after school." Elena touched the edge of the table. "What's her name?" "Lily." "She wrote the note?" "Yes." Elena hesitated. "May I meet her?" Marcus paused. "She's at school." "Another time, then," she said. He studied her face, not searching for motive, just listening. "You don't have to do anything," he said. "I didn't bring you here for that." "I know," she said. "That's why I came." They stood in silence again. That night, Elena made a decision she did not announce. She redirected a portion of the foundation's funds, quietly, not as a gesture, as a correction. She reassigned a board member who had raised concerns about optics. She scheduled a visit with the parents, not the donors. Marcus found out a week later. He did not thank her. He did not need to. The shift was small but real. Fewer denials, more time, a sense that someone was listening. But with change came attention. A journalist called, then another. Questions followed, about her involvement, about favoritism, about boundaries. Elena answered none of them. Instead, she went back to the center. She and Marcus spoke more now, still careful, still distant, but something had softened. Then the email arrived, an anonymous complaint. It accused Marcus of leveraging his relationship with her for funding, of manipulating sympathy, of crossing lines. Elena read it twice. Marcus did not know. She called an emergency board meeting. The room was cold, polished, unforgiving. They spoke about optics, about perception, about risk. "Elena," one of them said, "you need to consider stepping back." She nodded. "I am." They looked relieved. "I'm stepping closer." The room stilled. "I will not remove him, and I will not apologize for recognizing integrity when I see it." They warned her of headlines, of donors, of consequences. She listened. Then she stood and left. Marcus found out from someone else. He confronted her that evening, outside the center. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "I know. They think I used you. I know. This could cost you." She met his eyes. "It already has." He shook his head. "You shouldn't have done it." She smiled faintly. "Neither should you have shown up that night." He fell quiet. "What happens now?" he asked. "I thought of the room, the letters, the choice." "We keep going," she said, "if you're willing." He looked past her, then back. "I don't know how to do this," he said. "Neither do I, but I think we're already doing it." Above them, the building lights flickered on. Inside, children laughed. The world did not stop, but something had changed, and neither of them could go back.
Evelyn didn't expect silence to feel this loud. The night after the blackout ended, the city came back in pieces. Streetlights first, then traffic, then the low hum of everything pretending it had never stopped. Hartwell Tower lit up floor by floor, glass turning gold again. From the outside, it looked normal. From the inside, nothing was. Evelyn sat alone in her office long after the building cleared. Her phone lay face down, no alerts, no meetings, no assistants hovering at the door. She had sent everyone home early, not as a gesture, as a need. Across the city, Lucas tucked his daughter into bed by flashlight. The power in his building returned late. She had fallen asleep halfway through a story, her head heavy against his arm. He stayed there longer than necessary, listening to her breathe, the rhythm steady and forgiving. For months, Evelyn had passed him without seeing him. For months, Lucas had seen her too clearly. That imbalance felt heavier now. The next morning, Evelyn walked into the building at 7:15 as usual, straight spine, chin lifted, eyes forward. But this time, she stopped. Lucas stood near the security desk, holding a coffee he hadn't yet tasted. The jacket, the tired eyes, the same quiet presence. He looked up, surprised, like someone unused to being addressed first. "Good morning," she said. It sounded small, human. He nodded. "Morning." They stood there, the lobby moving around them. Assistants slowed. Security pretended not to watch. A few people noticed. Most didn't. "I owe you an apology," Evelyn said. He didn't rush to answer. That was his way. "You don't," he said finally. "I do," she replied, "for ignoring you, for deciding who you were before knowing anything." Lucas considered that. "You didn't hurt me," he said. "You just didn't see me." She swallowed. That felt worse. "I see you now," she said. He gave a small nod, not forgiveness, acknowledgement. She surprised herself by asking, "Can I walk with you?" He hesitated, not because of her, because of what it would mean. Then he said, "Yes." They walked toward the elevators together, no touching, no audience, just two people moving at the same pace. Over the next few weeks, nothing dramatic happened, and everything did. They talked sometimes, not long, not often, a few minutes in the morning, a quiet exchange at night when Lucas finished his shift. They spoke about ordinary things, school schedules, broken faucets, long meetings, tired bones. Evelyn didn't offer favors. Lucas didn't ask. That restraint mattered. When rumors started, they didn't come from Lucas. They came from others. Whispers about proximity, about access, about motives. Evelyn was used to that. She had built her life inside it. But this time, she didn't deflect. At the next board meeting, she stood and spoke plainly about the blackout, about who had stayed, about what leadership looked like when the lights were gone. "I ignored someone who held this building together. That's on me." The room shifted. Not applause, something more careful. Later that week, Lucas was reassigned, a better schedule, same pay, no spotlight. He accepted without comment. At home, his daughter asked why he was smiling more. He said, "I'm not." She tilted her head. "You are." Evelyn stopped staying late at the office, not because of him, because she was tired of proving something to empty rooms. One evening, weeks later, Lucas found a note taped to the security desk, not official, handwritten. Dinner, no expectations. He stood there a long time. When he arrived at the restaurant, Evelyn was already seated. No assistants, no phone, just her, waiting. They didn't talk about the blackout. They talked about loss, about choices made too early, about how easy it was to confuse control with safety. "I didn't ignore you because you didn't matter," she said quietly. "I ignored you because you did." He understood that. It didn't excuse it, but it explained it. They didn't label what followed. They moved slowly, carefully, as if speed might ruin the truth of it. Months passed. The city forgot the blackout. Headlines moved on. Hartwell Industries continued to rise. One afternoon, Evelyn sat on a park bench watching Lucas help his daughter with her shoelaces. She noticed how he never rushed her, how he waited for her to finish speaking, how he listened like it was work that mattered. She had built towers, he had built trust. That difference no longer felt like distance. She walked over. The child looked up, smiled. "Hi," she said. "Hi," the girl replied, certain and unafraid. Lucas stood, not defensive, just present. Evelyn reached into her bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "She wrote this," she said, handing it to him. Lucas opened it carefully. It was a drawing, crude, bright.
3 figures holding hands under a building with yellow windows. On the back, in uneven letters, "Thank you for helping my dad when the lights went out." Lucas blinked hard. She didn't need to do this. "I know," Evelyn said. "That's why it matters." They stood there, the city breathing around them. Nothing had been fixed, not fully, but something had shifted. That night, as the building lights turned on one by one, Evelyn didn't look up from the street. She was already standing beside the man she had once ignored, and this time she knew his name. "Thank you for staying with this story until the end."